Signs you are dating a narcissist. It's an interesting disorder that can be altruistically confusing. On one hand, they can be magnetic and highly skilled at attracting people. Their charm can be seductive, their charisma can light up a room, and their confidence can be comforting, which is why so many people fall into the trap of dating them. Narcissists are smart, which is why they are so skilled at getting what they want. These traits draw us in for good reason, Vicelich says. The seductive traits are the ones that block our ability to detect red flags. They play into our vulnerabilities and egos, and we end up being pulled so deep in. So, if you are wondering if you are dating a narcissist, you're in luck. We asked Vicelich for advice on uncovering the real situation at play, and she gave us a full rundown. Number 1. Lack of empathy. A lack of empathy may be the key defining characteristic of a narcissistic person. It is the inability to identify with or recognize the experiences and feelings of other people. Everything is about them and belongs to them, Vicelich says. They smoothly overstep the personal boundaries of others, mistreating, devaluing, and humiliating to bend others to their desires. From a basic perspective, a narcissist does not care or understand how other people feel and rarely considers other people's feelings in their actions or words. This can manifest itself in physical or verbal ways. For example, a narcissist will often say cruel things in an offhanded manner, remaining oblivious to the pain they cause with their words. It is not unusual for them to launch into a one-way discussion about what they are doing, without any regard or even inquiring about how the other person feels, Vicelich explains. They become highly impatient or even annoyed when other people share their problems. Number 2. Manipulative. Another weapon in the arsenal. Manipulation is a major sign that you could be dating a narcissist. The ability to twist the situation to better suit their narrative is a poignant personality trait that all egotistical people possess. It can be exhausting for those in the relationship. When a person is so skillfully manipulative, you may find yourself falling into their trap and remaining relatively unaware it is happening, Vicelich explains. Years later you will connect the dots. The manipulation is clear as day, but we often miss it. Narcissists are masters at getting what they want, and because they have no empathy, they may not care what it costs to someone else. They deviously use manipulation as a tool to get their most essential needs met, which are typically attention, validation, and status. Number 3. Projection. A clear-cut sign you are dating someone with NPD is the psychological trick known as projection. A self-absorbed person will accuse someone else of doing what they are doing or will call out their flaws and fears in someone else. More often than not, the person who is cheating accuses his partner of cheating. Projection is a defense or an unconscious pattern that occurs when the person feels psychologically threatened. The narcissistic ego is always monitoring the world for threats and often finds them. Then they quickly blame other people for their deficits, Vicelich says. Projecting is frustrating because your partner is actually accusing you of doing things you aren't actually doing. These projections are not just about cheating and betrayal, they can be about the narcissist's own vulnerabilities and weaknesses. They are likely to be accusing you of what they are doing or feeling. Number 4. Emotionally cold. It's not a huge surprise, but those with NPD are continually shallow with their emotions, meaning they don't do well with emotions. To be with an emotionally cold partner often means not being comforted, sometimes during the most difficult days in our lives, the relationships expert explains. The emotionally cold or distant trait rears its head during arguments when one person is experiencing and expressing significant emotion and the narcissistic person just checks out and does not respond, or does in a cold manner. The emotional coldness can be confusing for you and may result in attempts to jump through hoops to generate warmth and connection with your partner. Number 5. Gaslighting. This is a term that has been gathering pace over the past few years, and people are suddenly realizing the link to narcissism. From a historical perspective, the term arose from the 1930s play Gaslight, where a husband, in an attempt to drive his wife crazy, keeps turning down the gas-powered lights in the house. When the wife asks why he is dimming the lights, he denies it and says they are no dimmer. Over time, she finds herself going mad. Gaslighting qualifies as a form of emotional abuse that involves denying a person's experience and making statements, such as, "That never happened," or, "You are too sensitive," Vicelich says. The gaslighter uses techniques such as withholding or stonewalling, contradicting, or diversion. When you bring up something that concerns you and your partner turns it into something you said years before or deflects it and describes it as a conspiracy. They also minimize your feelings and denies events that definitely occurred. The damage of gaslighting is that it is confusing, isolating, and often results in you questioning your own reality. You may find yourself constantly apologizing and no longer as relaxed and joyful as you once were. Number 6. Never takes responsibility. Being in a relationship is a partnership. There should be give and take in every aspect. Part of this means accepting when you are wrong and taking things as they come, two things narcissists generally struggle with. They are master deflectors and try to avoid the blame with lying, cheating, and everything in between. They will make up complex excuses and rationalize anything, Vicelich says. When someone never takes responsibility for anything, words, actions, feelings, it is challenging if not an impossible way to maintain a relationship. Even preschool-aged children are asked to take responsibility for a broken crayon or toys left out. It is not too much to ask a person to take ownership. Since they are unable to distinguish the boundary between responsibility and blame, narcissists attempt to avoid both. Genuine acceptance of responsibility is very unlikely to be issued by someone with NPD, and you can wear yourself out by waiting for it. Number 7. Controlling. The term, control freak, gets thrown around a lot, but it's a key trait. What makes the situation even more frustrating is that often the narcissist is controlling you while remaining completely disinterested in the other aspects of your life. Like many other traits, the other person in a relationship can mistake control for affection. It's natural to want to be involved in your partner's life, but it's not healthy to dictate it. Control is often a part of abuse dynamics in relationships. The control culminates to the point where a person feels like they cannot move without asking for permission, and the narcissist uses control to isolate the person, Vicelich says. The most common manifestations of this relationship control are a partner monitoring your whereabouts at all times, checking your emails and text messages, criticizing your appearance, and making nearly all important decisions, with little regard for your opinion. Number 8. Grandiose. Grandiosity is a pattern in which a person tends to exaggerate accomplishments, talents, connections, and experiences. They do not have to be real experiences. Grandiose people tend to maintain over-the-top fantasy worlds, Vicelich says. Grandiosity can also be manifested by a sense of self-importance, a belief that their existence is bigger and more important than anyone else's, and certainly more important than yours. Quote, "In the case of famous narcissists like Stalin and Hitler, the purveyor may already be in a position of power. They may hold a leadership role, be famous, or have accumulated wealth. The grandiosity is a permanent fixture, and they will repeatedly boast about their accomplishments, their possessions, and their experiences," the author says. Grandiosity is seductive and can turn your partner into something larger than life, so that when things are going well, it can feel perfect. Number 9. Infidelity. Sadly, the culmination of the previous 8 signs will inevitably lead to a final, or habitual act of betrayal. They will cheat. Their need for admiration and novelty is so vast that they are wired to be unfaithful. Affairs are typically characterized by excitement, flattery, and superficial grandiosity, Vicelich says. They may keep a steady relationship with you, and cultivate other needs outside the relationship.